Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to BTS2. I'm Zayori. This is Merlini. You're watching the NA Hub for TI4 SEA Qualifiers presented by Monster. We've got RRQ versus Zephyr. Finally, we're only 35 minutes delayed, but we're here.
I blame the Russians.
We're ready to rock. All right, well, you heard it here. Merlini blames the Russians.
72-28 RRQ Zephyr. So that is not looking good.
That seems a little steep. That's a value bet right there, I think. 28% for Zephyr?
Is it?
I don't know. I mean,
You
I think
haven't
RRQ
seen
are the
RRQ.
favorites, but
Do you even know who RRQ is?
I've casted them a little bit.
Do you know where they're from?
Asia,
Oh, thanks, dude.
the southeast area. Do you know where they're from?
They're Indonesian.
Okay, Indonesian. I casted them in something. I've definitely casted them. I know Don Juan. He's a player. He's pretty big. Gehenna, you know, Koala. Serious players.
They're pretty serious.
What would you say the odds are? Do you think those numbers are on point, like 75-25?
I haven't seen RRQ recently, but Zephyr and the other Korean teams versus Southeast Asian teams, they just generally don't match up very well. And even if you think that Zephyr is good, it's just a different ball game when you're playing the Southeast Asian qualifiers. I think Zephyr, they do very well versus other Korean teams, but they're unused to the other team's play style, whereas all these teams play against each other like all the time. So they're kind of at a disadvantage because the other teams only have to learn MVP, Phoenix, and Zephyr, and Zephyr and Phoenix have to learn 8 teams.
Right.
So
that's true. That's fair enough.
Something to consider going into this game.
All right, very true. Now let's go ahead and hop on into our draft here and see what these teams are cooking up for us.
You said hop in the draft.
I know. I combined the PPD. Let's see what they're cooking up with the classic hop into the draft.
Let's
Baby
see
steps,
what our
Merlini.
5-on-5 lineups will be.
Let's
for
see
today.
what I think this is looking like a good 5v5 here, Merlini.
Wow,
Hashtag
they
mod notes.
really like the Wraith King.
5 seconds
Wow.
remaining.
They sure do. Zephyr are one of these few teams though that truly run Wraith
Radiant
King as
team
both a hard
ban.
support as well as a hard carry. Most teams seem to favor him in one or the other roles, but I was looking at Zephyr's recent game history, and it seems to be a pretty 50-50 spread.
Wraith King is. I don't think he's first pick material as a support.
10
I don't think he's a little bit too
remaining.
inflexible because he generally doesn't do well in the more passive games.
Remaining.
Because he doesn't take advantage of farm that well. Let's say compared to a
Reserve
Sand
time.
King. Sand King can get Blink Dagger. Wraith can get Blink Dagger, but it's not as important on him, I feel like, when he's a support.
Dire team back.
And he just doesn't really do as much. He doesn't have AoE. He can do Roshan, but generally he's better in aggressive strategies where you need him up front. You need him in the front lines to take a lot of the spells, the damage, the flak, whatever you want to call it, away
10
from
seconds
those really
remaining.
squishy heroes like a sniper or
Like a sniper.
Shadow Fiend with
5
Mask of Madness
seconds
BKB.
The
Or
casual sniper plug. I like it.
dude, I like
A
sniper.
little bit of wishful thinking here. I'd love to see a sniper.
I've seen sniper in Wraith King before.
Dire
Yeah,
team
it's
hit.
pretty
possible.
legit.
Yeah,
I don't
it's-
actually
it's
know the
good.
radius of the aura. I don't know if it's big enough to actually hit sniper.
That's a good point. I think it's. I would guess it's about 1,000 range. I don't know exactly. Maybe
I
that's
think standard
a little
aura
too
is
generous.
900.
900. Yeah. Sounds
Radius
about right.
900.
Radius 900. Okay, that's a. It's pretty
That's-
big. Sniper can outrange it a little bit, depending on positioning. But
Yeah.
could be interesting.
But
10
that's I think
seconds
that's what
remaining.
Wraith King's strength is.
Mhm.
It's like you're damned if you don't, because if you
5
can't just like
seconds
run
remaining.
by him in team fights most of the time when he's a support, because there's just so many other things to deal with, and if
Reserve
you have this guy
time.
just right clicking you with his big ass sword, I mean he crits, he hits, he slows.
He does. I think the big thing is if you want to run him as a carry in particular, you have to have some sort of a
Screw him as a
positioning tool.
carry.
If you want to. And I say that because Zephyr, we saw them earlier. Mineski is the game that I was casting, and I think you were on the panel for. They did go a carry Wraith King, and they did a BKB first build that
gross.
I wasn't
He
particularly
doesn't need
fond
BKB.
of.
That's the beauty of the hero. You don't need survivability.
Yeah, you
first.
you almost don't want to survive first. That's part of the power. You set up those kills with the reincarnate, and without a gap closer, you just kind
They
of get
need like
kited around.
track or something. Bounty Hunter, Skeleton King, that would be awesome.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Radiant
You
team
need something,
hit.
even if it's not a Blink Dagger. You want to settle for a Force Staff, even if it's just like a drums. You need something to let you get into the fight. But just walking on in there with power treads,
It's like
not the way to do
it's
it.
phase drums, blink, or like a S and Y build. S and Y is not great,
But it's something.
Or if you're really slow, you can just get Radiant. So like you don't need to actually be in melee.
Like if you're not going to get any movement speed, just go for the all-out art. I've got the aura of the
seconds
Gosu around me. I will I will burn you down.
That used to be the build before
5 seconds
like drums
remaining.
was an item, before armlet was an item. So it is an older build, but it still does
Reserve
work.
time.
It's legit, dude.
Yeah, it is. And oh, there's your Mirana. She makes it
Dire
all
team
the way to the 3rd pick, but Zephyr get to pick her up to go with their Wraith King and Dazzle. So we'll see that Mirana Wraith King duo. Still hard to tell if the Wraith King will be a support or if he'll end up being the farming carry, and that's part of the beauty of the Zephyr
It's gonna be
draft so
Mirana,
far.
dude. When people lose with something that they just lost with, they rarely run it again.
Yeah.
It's a very, very common thing that you'll
10
see.
seconds remaining.
And on the flip side, if people win with something, they're more likely to run. Although
5
I think
seconds
that
remaining.
the worst teams are more prey to it than the good teams, because when you draft something and you win
Reserve
with it
time.
and you're playing the same team again, I guess this is kind of irrelevant because this is all best of ones. But
Yeah.
anyways, they probably realized their mistake that Wraith King just couldn't do anything. Corey's like, I can't get to anyone. Why am I playing this hero? And then you can get someone with a lot more mobility, like Mirana. She's ranged. She has leap. She has extra movement speed. She can actually get into fights with Moonlight Shadow.
Yeah.
And Starstorm just does a lot of damage, even if you don't get that farm. So Mirana, although she's not the best position one, she does have a lot of
Radiant
things
team
going for her
pick.
that make her better than Wraith King. But Wraith King is actually probably the worst position one that we've actually seen as a common position one.
Yeah.
And I think Mirana is probably a close to, or she's probably second
In terms of position 1 carry.
that we see often.
Dire
Yes.
team
Yeah.
back.
Well, we've
Relatively
seen
often.
teams running a lot of. Well, the nice thing about a support Wraith King with a Mirana is it makes for pretty easy arrow setup. More so than most other stuns, the slow afterwards makes it a little bit more difficult for the victim of the onslaught to juke it if Mirana isn't
10
there with a
seconds
close range
remaining.
arrow. Now, a couple of interesting 4th picks. RRQ go with a Razor, a
5
hero we haven't
seconds
seen a whole lot of. And Zephyr will grab the Blitz hero. That, of
Radiant
course, is
team
the
ban.
Storm Spirit.
Razor's decent here because he can kite fairly easily, and Wraith King, as we talked about, doesn't have any innate high mobility. So if you can static link him, Wraith King's actually forced to run away, which is
10
a
seconds
very
remaining.
rare situation that you see.
Hero we just haven't seen much against Wraith
Dude,
King.
Razor is
5
really
seconds
good.
remaining.
He's underrated.
I would
He's-
say so. I mean, he's picked very seldom.
He is. He's also
Reserve
really good
time.
versus Shadow Demon. I expect a resurgence of Razor now that Wraith King and Shadow Demon have become really, really popular.
Dire
Like you
team
can
pick.
static link someone, you disrupt, you gain even more damage.
Mhm.
So he actually messes with heroes' positionings a lot, and he's very, very good versus melee or even low range BKB. Like let's say a Luna. Luna just gets absolutely pooped on by Razor for the most part.
Radiant
And
team
she's also good
pick.
versus he's also good rather versus single target clicky abilities, which is Wraith King, Rubik, Bane. All 3 of those heroes can only target particular heroes, so you're gonna get affected by that static link very heavily, or
Mhm.
unstable current rather.
Yeah. So OD, the final choice for RRQ. Probably their mid hero. I see a tri-lane with the Razor and then an off-lane Dark
They're
Seer.
gonna have to dodge. I think they have to
10
dodge the
seconds
Storm
remaining.
Spirit OD lane. I think they have to dump Storm Spirit on top
5
versus the
seconds
Dark Seer.
remaining.
Probably put like a Viper in middle if Bambo can play it versus OD.
Reserve time.
They also need a mech carrier. I think he'd fit that role very, very well.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he's a good tank in front line, and also
And
just-
we've seen how good Viper is against OD.
he
It's,
owns OD.
It's a smash.
He's probably the best hero versus OD. I would say he's number 1, Razor's number 2, Kunkka number 3.
Yeah, that's about the order
Lone
I would
Druid-
rank it.
Lone Druid number 4.
Mm.
So
You need to be a good LD player to
Yeah.
take out the OD. That's not an easy matchup. Unless you're a Gosu Lone Druid, but
they have to dodge this lane though. It's just
it's too hard for Storm. He just can't do it. It's
can't.
a straight up counter. We'll see. It forces Zephyr out of their comfort zone a little bit. The question is, will RRQ go for an aggro try or a safe lane try? They've got-
RQ should do safe lane try.
Yeah.
Sinking's very poor.
You
and
want Sand King in that jungle, and yeah,
Yes.
he's just not a great offlane hero. He
He-
needs to utilize the
yeah,
farm. And
he-
whoa,
Oh yeah.
Zephyr with the Undying last pick. Oh,
Oh, you know
interesting.
what? Someone did tell me about a solo offlane Undying that owned. I don't exactly remember which game it was. Let me do some
Do some detective
studying.
work here.
You can introduce and whatnot.
Oh, don't worry, I'll take point. Undying is a really interesting hero. He's really, really powerful in the early levels. Like 1 through 3, he has a little bit of a Treant Protector vibe about him. He is just so tanky. He can go man mode against pretty much anyone, and his harass is just so irritating between the Decay and the Soul Rip. And even Tombstone is pretty darn good. He does have a little scalability. Flesh Golem is
Okay, I have
decent.
the update on the Undying.
Okay, hook us
Okay,
up.
so apparently he was solo off lane.
Mhm.
He was 4-2 and 12.
10 seconds remaining.
He got a pipe, and they owned.
5 seconds remaining.
They paired him in this very odd lineup, though. Invoker, Chen, Nature's Prophet, Rubik, Undying. So that's a very early game-centric lineup, and Zephyr's is not terribly early
Prepare
centric.
for battle.
They have like decent early game, but it's not all about the Undying. And there's two kind of ways you can look at it. You can look at it as a very well balanced Undying for the mid game, Dazzle for the early mid, and then like Potom Storm for the late. But I don't know. It just seems like everything's just well balanced for Zephyr. Nothing that really stands out. Or you can go like all out early game and just kind of win from there. So we'll see how they decide to do it. But I don't know. I'm just not really on board with Undying, just personally because I haven't seen it run successfully.
Exact same story for me. I've seen a little bit of Undying here and there, not terribly successful in general, and he just seems to fall off a little bit too quickly. But we'll see how it works for Zephyr. Let's introduce some rosters. On the Radiant side, of course, we do
30
have
seconds to
Team
battle.
Zephyr. Purge will be playing on the Dazzle here. He'll be supporting down bottom. Aosin on the Wraith King, and Corey will be here on the Mirana.
Is that the Anuxi set?
Yes, it sure is, and boy, is it pretty. I'm jelly. I wish I had the genuine Dazzleator. The rare mace. Very impressive. And
Wait,
they,
why is it called the mace?
I don't know.
It should be called like a staff.
It's really a staff. It really is. Blitz Dota. He's playing on the Storm Spirit, and of
battle
course the off lane here.
begins.
We've got Sexy Bambo playing on the Undying. It looks like Zephyr may do a little bit of a role reversal here early on and switch up these lanes. They will send Purge as well as Aosin up to the top lane, and that means it will be a solo safe lane Corey and a tri lane up top with Bambo, but we'll see how the lanes settle down. Double damage rune picked up by Bambo straight away. Koala comes in on that Razor. He's got the static link up, draining some of that damage, and he'll just walk away, harassing a little bit, poking back the Undying. And, uh-oh, he might get sandwiched here. Koala taking a very strange path, and
He has boots. He's good.
yeah, okay, boots first. You're right. That's true. But still, oh, maybe up top. It's Aosin that could get sandwiched. That, Visage doing a little bit of damage here.
Oh
Has
my-
Grave Chill level 1.
So much damage.
Slows him down quite a bit. He won't secure a kill, but he'll force out this salve straight away. If there was anyone else inbound, I think that would have been a kill. Let's introduce the Dire side before we get too far ahead of ourselves. We've got Team RRQ in the bottom lane. It is the Darkseer played by Nefari. In the mid lane, it will be Don Juan on the Outworld Devourer. Koala on the Razor, who is rotating his way back up to the top lane. Gehenna on the Sand King, and it will be Boo Boo here on the Visage.
So Undying plus Dazzle has some interesting synergy. I think if you heal on Undying, you can heal the zombies, and zombies will almost always be on top of heroes. So you can actually do a potential lot of damage. And they don't have a good way to clear all the Undying zombies. There are some spells that are particularly good at it. Physical damage spells like Axe with his spin, Anchor Smash, Gyrocopter with Flak, and Kunkka. They all clear them. But in this game, there's not really anything that can clear it. Maybe. No, just nothing.
Yeah.
So the Tombstone is probably his strongest skill. Oh, Gehenna, that's a smoke pops. Well
Yeah.
played, Gehenna.
Scouts it out. A small stroke of luck, really just in the right place at the right time. Wasn't looking for the smoke as much as he was just trying to stack up the jungle here. Aosin will come in. Body blocks the pull, so, well, a failed
Radiant's
failed
bottom
stack
tower
for the
is
Sand
under
King.
attack.
Nothing too game-breaking, but anything you can do to slow down that Blink Dagger is certainly good news. They'll still rotate mid. Don Juan, he's positioned himself well. Gets harassed by Purge a little bit, but won't be too susceptible to this gank. It is going to be the Storm versus OD, which is the matchup that we were a little worried about. And it seems that
Apparently,
Blitz is holding his
they're
own
not
so far,
They're
but
not scared, man.
yeah. It doesn't get super scary until there's at least 2 points in Astral Imprisonment. Even level 5 is when it's a bit more difficult for the Storm Spirit. But Blitz doing well out of the gate. There is a smoke from RRQ. And where are they headed? They'll wrap around and maybe moving towards the mid lane. Sand King is only level 1. And
They
Visage
can still kill them.
is at least level 2 here. Blitz,
Oh wow!
very low on
what
mana.
what a smoke
Radiant's
pop!
bottom
My
tower
goodness,
is
and they
under
have the
attack.
ward. So he popped it from right here, and then they saw him with that ward. That was so Two very fortunate and well played with the smoke reveals.
Yeah, on both sides of the coin. Still 0-0 here at the 3-minute mark, but both teams showing signs of aggression. Corey just farming away in the bottom, is sitting 11-3 right now, getting a fair amount of farm. And up top, Koala, he is only 5-2, so not getting a huge amount of CS,
mid lane.
but they'll go in onto Blitz. Sand King waddling his way over. Burrow Strike will be on the money. Boo Boo to follow up. There's your Grave Chill. They should have plenty of damage to bring him down. Electric Vortex out on Gehenna, but it's just not enough. Your first blood flies, and it is Boo Boo on the Visage to pick it up.
Where's the support? I guess they don't have TP scrolls, but they were sitting there for a really long time. If they wrapped around from behind, they can easily get at least one kill. But
yeah. Well, for Zephyr, the Undying seems to be doing well in the off lane. 15-3 in terms of CS, just about to hit level 4. Up against the Solo Razor, seems to be going pretty darn well for him. Two Radiant supports haven't been terribly effective so far. Dazzle only level 1. Aosin has hit level 2, holding, did grab stats at level 2, actually. Upping that mana pool a little bit, but they haven't been able to secure a kill on the Darkseer. He's now level 5, so he's having a pretty darn good time, too. Both of the offlaners finding farm, and even the mid lane is sort of a wash. So that first blood tipping the scales a little bit. RRQ grabbing a small lead to get things started.
So they don't really have too much lockdown for the Storm in the later game.
Set up here in the mid lane. Astral will start things off. Gehenna coming in. There's your Burrow Strike. But do they have the damage to bring him down? No, Gehenna could actually get turned around upon. There's the Wraithfire Blast, but oh, what a disjoint with that Sandstorm. Well played by Gehenna. And it will be enough to keep him alive. That was beautifully done.
They need some reveal.
Yeah.
He needs more help in the mid lane. Like either Observer Wards, TP Scroll, just merely sitting on the ramp behind him. You can tell RRQ, they know what they need to do. They need to keep down Storm Spirit. They can limit Podum's farm just by constantly spamming Ion Shell. It won't be the best, but she's not really your biggest threat. And see a lot of harass coming out in the top lane, but it looks like no blood will be spilled. And they don't really have that much to say for Sand King. Like maybe a vacuum, or maybe if OD gets a Hex later, but these are big maybes. Your only hard stun is the Sand King stun, but his Blink Dagger is not going to come out for some time. So if Storm Spirit gets an early BKB or even an early Orchid, then RRQ's in a lot of trouble. So they have to shut down the Storm Spirit, and they can afford to let the other people farm as long as they're trading farm well. And it looks like OD is pretty far ahead in mid. He is double the CS of Storm Spirit, and in bottom lane, Podum's getting a lot more than the Razor, but Razor did go boots first, so that's going to hurt his last hitting skills in that early game.
Yeah, he's now going straight into phase boots and actually completely out of regeneration, but so was All Undying there. Sexy Bambo had to retreat to the well. He did pick up the headdress. Hard to say if it'll be a pipe or a mech rush. Actually sells it back, so changing his mind a little bit here perhaps. But I think you're exactly right. They would be well advised to try and keep Blitz down. He'll be that tempo controller in the mid game, and also just a scary hero/player combination, and one that you definitely want to keep down if you have the choice.
I also don't know why Purge is just sitting there on bottom lane. Like, it's not like if Darkseer is going to kill a Mirana.
Yeah.
And even if he does,
Darkseer, speak of the devil, he will surge away, but there's your zip forward from Blitz. He should have the damage to bring him down. One more auto attack, but the defensive Astral stops it. And that will be enough to keep the Darkseer alive. Blitz as well as Aosin on the retreat. No follow-up, but beautifully done. Those defensive capabilities now coming in handy twice for RRQ and keeping him alive.
Curious to see what Mirana's going to go for, 1,500 gold, but what Purge needs to do is just keep stacking for Blitz. Storm, Spirit, he needs to catch up and farm somehow, and he can stack up the jungle himself, but that's after the opportunity cost of him getting stuff done in middle. But in the bottom lane, why would Mirana need Babysit versus Darkseer? If you didn't already zone him out, then you're not going to be able to do so when he's level 6 and you're level 2. So
yeah, especially as a Dazzle. If it was somebody like a Rubik who could telekinesis or something right after he surges, I could understand it more, but Dazzle, especially with no points in Poison Touch anyhow, there's just no kill power.
There's absolutely no point in him being there.
Yeah, you're just leeching XP and should be stacking the jungle and what have you.
Or at least, if they don't know where you are, you can always be like, well, he could be mid, sitting behind Will with a grave.
There's that threat there.
But they just, the threat's not there, especially when he's revealing. So even if he's stacking, just being off the map is just so important.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling Corey's going to go for a Midas here. It's a pretty quiet early game, a lot of room to farm, and I think they want this Mirana to be a pretty hard hitter. at least as much as possible. But we'll see. About 1,800 gold up on him. The supports hanging around the tree line here, looking like they may want to go in on the Dark Seer. It does get pinged out by Purge. Aosin starts off with the Wraithfire Blast. Dazzle comes in. Arrow does connect. Even Moonlight Shadow flies. They'll do a lot of damage, and they'll have enough for the kill. Yep, he gets chopped down by Aosin. The Moonlight Shadow was really for the top lane, where Sexy Bambo almost got picked off as the Undying, but the invisibility was enough to keep him alive.
Yeah, a little bit late, I'd say, on the kill down there. They did rotate bottom pretty early, but I think they should have dropped on Reserve Reward because the Darkseer's just gotten so much out of the lane. Undying's been getting a decent amount of lane too, but mostly because Sand King's been roaming a lot. He actually hasn't been stacking too much. I don't even know if there's any stacks out, so there's one.
Yeah, not there, and it's only a double. Mud Golems and Ogres, definitely not ideal for Old Gehenna here. Halfway through level 5, he does have 3 points in Burrow Strike, so not going the farming Sandstorm build. Brown Boots with about 1,000 gold at the 9-minute mark certainly won't be the fastest blink we've seen on the Sand King. And yes, indeed, Aosin looking to wrap around here. They want to set up a kill onto Don Juan, but it won't be easy.
They can go now.
Throws out the Astral, and with that, Don Juan will just back out.
He has his Midas now, so he's trying to...
Oh, wow, just pokes up to the high ground enough to see the Wraith King coming. Moves back into tower range. Great map awareness from Don Juan.
Oh.
He'll survive the onslaught, but Gehenna might not be so lucky. Blitz coming forward. Invisibility rune on.
They're going to have to drop like 8 of those remnants.
And they have no detection, so this is...
These supports need about detection. They already lost a kill because they didn't have one before.
Well, they will continue just to spam remnants here. It is
everybody's
only level
coming.
1, but uh-oh, it's going to be a sandwich. Aosin only level 4, throws the stun out on Don Juan. Blitz around the backside, gets stunned by the Burrow. In comes the Visage. Easy kill. Zephyr just hanging around too long without detection. I don't know what their plan was. That's going to make it 1-2 here.
Their plan was to drop like 8 remnants on top of them.
I mean, if it was a level 4 remnant or something, okay, maybe. It doesn't scale that well, but still, level 1 remnant, it just...
They just need detection on the supports.
Yeah.
So
that's all it comes down to, really.
Already, what, 2... They missed out on a kill, and they gave up a kill because of it. So the score should actually be 2-1 probably instead. And these are deaths on very important heroes too. Storm Speeder can't afford to die that much more. He's 0-2-0, and I mean they're trading Mirana farm, but as we talked about before, or during the draft rather, Mirana one of the worst one positions.
Yeah, definitely
in terms of raw carry potential.
Yeah. Compared to something like an Anti-Mage or a Spectre, does not scale nearly as well. But with the Hand of Midas, he'll start to come online here and should have a pretty solid presence in the mid-game. Is about 700 gold up on the OD, who is the leading farmer of RRQ. He picked up a Hand of Midas of his own. Brown Boots into Midas. This is a very greedy OD build.
Bottom lane,
very
Nefari.
easily punishable. Yep. He does have Surge, throws it, but Wraith Fire Blast comes out. The creep gets in the way, and that'll intercept the arrow. He'll just TP home. Nice heads-up play from the Darkseer, recognizing Dazzle no longer has an interrupt tool, nor does he have a point in Poison Touch. So he will survive, and, well, that one melee creep is enough to keep him alive.
Hero Treant.
Yeah. Hero little creep there. Yep. Well, Don Juan still just farming away, and I feel like if OD goes Brown Boots, Hand of Midas, you have to rotate and gank him. You have to punish this greedy build. If you let him get away with it, he'll start to hit critical mass. He'll come online very quickly, and nobody wants to play against the farm.
I think like at this point they just rotate in Corey to try and kill him. He
Yeah.
already has Midas. He can still kill people. Maybe he needs a bottle for more mana, but as it stands, they need levels on Wraith King. They also need levels on Dazzle. They're both sitting in this level 4 territory, and Sand King's level 7. He doesn't have his ultimate, so I thought he was a little bit less leveled, but Visage stacking, pulling right now, almost level 6. So these supports are going to be relatively irrelevant in maybe like 5 or 6 minutes time, and they really need to get kills so they can boost themselves into the realm of relevancy.
Gehenna finding some pretty solid recovery for him here. 100 gold away from getting the Blink Dagger. Looks like right around that 13-minute mark is when it will be delivered. So, not bad. A little bit later than ideal, but still good. Considering the pace of this game, I think that timing will be just fine. But I do agree with you. I think that Mirana needs to start moving around, and they need to start utilizing this Undying. Like I mentioned, he's a hero that doesn't scale particularly well with items. He's been farming, but still is 0, 0, and 0. Hanging on to that headdress, Arcane Boots up, and it's hard to say if he's going for the mech or the pipe, or potentially even both. The other two supports Very little farm to their name, so if they're going to be the mech carriers, they won't be coming out anytime soon.
And that's the Blink Dagger up on Sand King, so that makes life even more difficult for the Storm Sphere. But he is doing the jungle right now, albeit not stacked at all. They finally have a ward up in middle for him, but I think the damage has been done. Like, look at his farm compared to the OD.
Almost doubled, 2.9k versus 5.2 on the net worth. That's a pretty darn big gap. Moran is still holding that #1 position, but Razor's also farming quite well. Looks like he's going for more of a race car build here. Phase boots into drums, and he'll start getting some points into that unstable current. And he's just going to be cruising around. No points in the ultimate yet. Moonlight Shadow pop. Looks like they do want to set up a kill onto Koala up top. Tombstone comes down. They start off with the Wraithfire Blast. Even the heal bomb from Purge. And they'll chase him down as he dives the tower. Flesh Golem utilized, and he will fall. In the bottom lane, they did pick up a kill on the Darkseer as Blitz rotated down. So Zephyr will find 2 kills across the map. RRQ smoked up with their supports rotating down, but they'll be a little bit late to the party. Maybe they can find a recovery kill onto Corey. Does have Leap available. Sand King comes forward. Epicenter, Burrow Strike, Familiar Stun, and easy kill on the Mirana from these 2 supports.
Now you're talking about
Don Juan gets picked off as well. That's a 1 for 3 across the map. Zephyr, all of a sudden, a burst of momentum here, Merlini. Much needed momentum at that.
And on top of that, Blitz managed to pick up a regen rune, so that's a big swing of momentum. And you can see that the gold graph, 2,500 in favor of RRQ. They did have the Blink Dagger on sinking, but that's the big issue for me, because generally heroes that you view as very hard to kill, like Priestess of the Moon and Storm Speeder, they'll die very easily into an Epi Burrow Blink combo.
So Visage Familiar as well. They pick off that mid tower, and Blitz will have forward, picks off both Familiars. No Gargoyle form, no resummon. And, well, Blitz gets a small pick-me-up there. Did cost him that tower, but that's okay. Up top, Koala may get initiated upon here. Aosin coming in, looking for the stun. Will find it. Sexy Bambo throws out the Tombstone. And they'll try to drop the hammer. Koala, yeah, no way you're surviving that one. Blitz zips forward, and Undying picks up that kill. That makes it 5-3 here at the 15-minute mark as Zephyr continue their burst of momentum. But with Murata getting picked off down bottom, he does lose his towers. They pressured the lane, hops back to safety. And while his buddies up top do secure a tower kill of their own, that does take the total tower count now 2-1 in favor of RRQ.
Now Undying's actually very rich. He has 1,200 gold, he has Arcane and Mech, and he's actually #3 in net worth, pretty far ahead of the Storm Sphere, so that's pretty interesting. And Razor, yeah, he's died a couple of times, but he's also picked up most of his important items. He's actually going for, I believe, an SNY post drums. I think he needs a BKB, but still, he does have a lot of strength. He did get the drums already early, so I don't think the damage has been done in regards to shutting down the Razor.
Mirana does have a Perseverance, so stands to reason that Corey will grab himself a Lincoln Sphere before too long here. RRQ did just try to gank him, but Gehenna couldn't find that Burrow Strike before the leap. They will rotate back near the Roche pit. Okay, Visage just picking up a point booster as they all rotate through. So no Roche quite yet, but Visage just going for a fast Ag Scepter. No big surprise about that, and it looks like the Razor will just be transitioning into a BKB following those drums. Or no, that's going to be a Sanj actually. Pardon me, SNY, I guess.
Yeah. I think he needs BKB, but maybe it could be a casual belt of Giant Strength.
Yep.
It also could be Halberd, although Halberd I don't think is particularly useful in this game. Not yet, at least.
Yeah. I feel like he would go for SNY over Halberd if he was going for like a Sanj at this stage, but you never know. I guess
he definitely should.
Yeah.
But you never know.
You never know. That's
you never know with C Dodo.
That's a very good point.
So the 4-man starts mid, which is a pretty good timing. Bambo does have his mech, and notice what Zephyr did right here. They had a storm remnant over here. They also have dropped a Tombstone, so they know that they can't get Epied on unless he does have a smoke or he's in a very unusual position, like up here or over here. So he does smoke behind, and if they get jumped on with an Epi, they lose the fight. So they have to make sure that happen. Now they will see Sand King, but it's almost too late.
Yeah, no Epi. He just goes straight forward. Dust comes out as Moonlight Shadow flies. And they will throw out an Astral and focus some targets onto Sexy Bambo here. And Epicenter actually used. Bambo will fall off to the side. Rest of the fight breaking out. Blitz on the low ground. Not revealed quite yet. Aosin will be the next target of choice. They've already procced the ultimate. It's now on cooldown. Astral to set it up. Of course, the tower's gone down. The rest of Zephyr in full retreat mode. It'll be a 2-0 as RRQ proves successful once again. And OD still has his ultimate up, so they'll press forward. 1 TP's down bottom. It is Boo Boo to try and repel Corey, and that will be enough to quell their push.
That wasn't even a great fight from RRQ. They didn't even get a good epi off, and they had 5 heroes in there a little bit late, but I'm not exactly sure what Zephyr was trying to do there. Like, the initiate could have been a lot worse from them, and they just don't have great tower siege. They have, like, decent teamfight and decent sustain, but not 4 on 5, and not under the guise of their T1, not when Darkseer has a mech, and I don't know, they just weren't prepared for that push.
Yeah.
It wasn't the right time.
Tier 1 tower in the mid lane gets denied. Bambo coming in, looking for the last hit, but won't find it. And with that tower down, that will actually tie things up in terms of map control. 2 apiece, with 1 Tier 1 tower still standing. Zephyr will rendezvous outside of the Radiant Ancients, and they will do a 3-man smoke and move into the dire jungle. Let's see what they can find. Razor doing some work on these mud golems. Blitz will find him, and he does zip forward. They grab Koala with the Vortex. There's your Wraithfire Blast to follow up. But in comes Sand King with the stun. No epi available right now. Mech pop. Koala taking a lot of damage. Darkseer coming in. OD joining the party as well. Drops the hammer. That secures the kill onto Purge. Darkseer falls next, but it's not looking good for Zephyr. Now Aosin, no ultimate available. He'll get picked off. Bambo on the run. He turns and tries to do what he can. Sets up the Astral. And now they will be able to pick up this kill. Looks like it will be a 2 for 3 when she's all said and done. But it's a triple kill for Don Juan on the OD. He had a double damage rune, and that was just not the ideal time for Zephyr to try to move into the jungle.
That almost was a much better fight for Zephyr. The Murata arrow almost connected on the OD or the Sand King. They were both standing around on top of each other, but the Visage bird actually tanked it. So I think had that happened, it would have been a 3 for 3, which is decent considering Zephyr's unimportant heroes were the ones that died.
Yeah, and there is also a gem now up on the Visage, so Moonlight Shadow rendered a little bit less effective, and also wards will be subject to getting picked off by these pesky familiars. So Boo Boo 1 step closer now to his Ag Scepter. Oh, never mind, just grabbing magic wand pieces. But still hanging on to that point booster. Arcane's now up on the Sand King, and OD looks like he's grabbed a Force Staff. Still sitting on brown boots, but now picked up the ultimate orb and just working towards that Scythe of Vice.
And now you're getting to that point where Undying, he was useful early, but compare him to Darkseer, and Darkseer, yes, he's 0, 3, and 4, and yeah, Undying has a few kills, but that's not what is important here. Darkseer, he has Vacuum Wall. That is just so much better for team fights than Undying with his Tombstone and Flesh Scope, at least from what I've seen of Undying thus far. The Tombstone, it's annoying, but it's not winning team fights.
Yeah, exactly. I look at this hero and think about how little impact he has relative to other offlaners like Darkseer. You already mentioned it in that team fight. So, yeah, Centaur, other heroes that are even easier to execute with and just do so much more, whether it's damage, whether it's tempo control. We'll see. It's not over yet. As I mentioned, Flesh Golem, it's okay. It's not a bad ability, but is it enough? That's what it comes down
best
to.
When you get like relatively low, like 30–40%, and people want to kill you, but you keep healing because people die. So that's actually, I think we're...
Far is in big trouble here. The zip forward from Blitz. He will get defensive Astral. That'll buy him some time. Epicenter coming in from Gehenna, actually doing a lot of damage. The vacuum into wall. Zephyr in some trouble. A lot of them low health. They'll try to make the escape. Undying goes down, as does the Wraith King. Darkseer gets picked off, but they'll grab Blitz. That's a 1 for 3. The rest of them are in full retreat mode, and the rest of them being Corey as well as Purge. Gehenna blinks forward. Burrow Strike available. Has to guess. He's off the money. Purge tries to TP home. Do they have the interrupt? There's the Astral, just barely, but they do it. Dazzle will fall, and this will make it a 1 for 4. Looking for that. Roshan denied, but the pure damage from Don Juan, a bit too much. Rosh gets pinged, and this will be an easy Roshan for RRQ.
This is where you go back to the draft and you look at Zephyr's first pick, and they first pick Dazzle, whereas RRQ, they first pick Sand King, and then you're like, is the Dazzle pick really worth it?
Yeah.
Have you seen the impact that Sand King has had in the mid lane, ganking Blitz, killing him, making him 0-0, making him very poor on the network chart, and then these impact that he's had in the team fights, the Epi, the Blink, the 3-hero stun, and you just can't compare the two in terms of game impact.
Yeah, Absolutely. I mean, Dazzle is a good hero, but he needs experience. He needs room to kind of come online, and he just can't set up those same level of ganks in the initial levels like a Sand King can with the Burrow Strike. I mean, Sand King helped secure some of those early kills and was able to retreat to the jungle. Dazzle just kind of running around. Didn't really have a good home in this game. Koala, following that successful team fight, now picks up his Sanjin Yasha. Happy to see that over the Halberd. But I think more importantly, the Outworld Devourer, not only level 15, close to the level 3 Sanity's Eclipse, but now has a Scythe of Ice to play around with. They'll rotate up top. Corey does have a Lincoln's. It gets popped. He gets turned into a piggy. And, well, I hear bacon is tasty, Merlini. He'll get chopped up and picked off by the Darkseer.
This is getting uglier by the minute. The items are just kicking in too fast for RRQ. And it took him a very long time to even bring down a Darkseer. All he has is defensively, a Stout Shield and a mech, 23 minutes in, and he still died way after the time that he should have been brought down. And then you consider an OD and Razor to boot, and then this a Visage with Scepter coming online fairly soon. It's very unlikely that Zephyr's going to gain map control anytime soon. So I think what they need to do is start taking it piece by piece. Just going for these ganks, and they probably need to pick up the gem themselves to remove the vision from RRQ. So RRQ is always playing in the dark, and if they want to commit into the other side of the river very aggressively, they need to commit as 5. Or at least in groups of 3 or 4, and Zephyr can try and take advantage of that and pick fights that they deem opportune. 5-on-5 is not the right idea. They've lost almost every team fight prior to this, and yes, most of it has been on RRQ side, but they've lost too many for this matter.
I mean, just look how big this OD is. I mean, Bambo almost getting taken down. The Grave will keep him alive. The hammer gets dropped, and that'll proc the reincarnation. Undying gets destroyed as soon as he comes out of the astral. Mech is popped. They'll dive this tower. Moonlight Shadow won't be enough to keep him alive. Blitz gets taken down by the Sand King's Epicenter Burrow Strike combo. They're diving hard. It's a 4 for Nil Merlini. RRQ in great shape. This is pretty much over, barring huge throws from RRQ. Nothing's working out for Zephyr right now. They do have an Orchid on Storm.
He
just got it, but it's just too late. Don Juan takes a long-range arrow, but the follow-up isn't there. Marana can only secure that kill by hopping in.
So OD is 1 item ahead. He has he doesn't have Treasure. He has Midas. Marana has Midas. He has Force and he has Sheep. So now he can just Force in the Hex. He can Astral in Hex. He can pretty much do whatever he wants to kill. Oh my goodness, look at Bambo. Yeah, I mean,
the OD just hits so hard. It's so much pure damage right now. Aosin coming in, doing some damage to the Darkseer, but he has no ultimate. It's still only level 1. He does get Graved. A beautiful Burrow Strike. There's your Vacuum coming out. The Grave buys him some time, but Dazzle doesn't have it up for himself. He will fall. Aosin gets picked off as well. He just gets procced by the OD. He's coming back to life, and he'll just walk back to this tower. It gets finished off. No glyph available for Zephyr. They burned it to try and keep the tower alive. They do have 2 alive, the Marana and the Storm, but they just can't save this Rax. Another arrow does connect, this time onto the Razor. Burrow Strike forward onto Blitz. They'll have to burst him down quick or turn him into a pig. That'll shut him down. And Orchid is great on Storm, but it just came out too late. The tempos were already being controlled by the OD. And the Sand King. Really, RRQ were just too far ahead by the time the Orchid came out.
I think it was
too little too late.
Half the draft and half play. Have execution, what caused Zephyr to get so far behind. Undying, he has mech. He was 2-0, now just 1-5 since then, and he dies in 3 hits from OD, so he's pretty much irrelevant at this point. And even if Darkseer dies in 3 hits, let's say the roles reverse, he can still get a vacuum wall, which will stay up and which will at least shift the tempo of a team fight. But Undying, it's just who cares?
Wow. Him? Razor has his Ags complete, still sitting at home in that stash, but it's going to get dirty in this next team fight. Ag's also up on the Visage. That means another familiar joining the fray. 4 staff and 1,500 gold up on the Sand King there as well.
I mean, OD Ultimate will probably one-shot some of the heroes now.
Yeah, especially if he has a couple of int stacks up. It will get scary very fast. Down bottom, Sexy Bambo gets turned into a piggy. Don Juan actually loses vision. Moonlight Shadow comes out. Detection not here for the OD. And won't be able to secure this kill. There is a TP scroll for Bambo if he wants to try and TP home. Support coming in for the Dire. Also Zephyr rotating down as well. They ping out Nefari. And I think the Vision, yep, still on the Visage. but Moonlight Shadow will expire. Aosin throws out a stun. They're in retreat mode. Blink forward from Nefari. Aosin in big trouble. Still no ultimate available. Does get preemptively graved by Purge, and that's okay. RRQ will just back out. Happy to zone him out, and they'll press this tower, but look at Bambo. He'll be cheeky. He'll try and cut the creep wave here and quell this push, but they've got creeps with him, and they'll be able to at least take this tier 2 tower down.
They could press on. They could wait for next Roshan. Doesn't really matter either way. They don't have to play extremely safely just because they're so darn far ahead, and they don't even have any BKBs.
Yeah, well, one on OD now, but wow.
I mean, against this lineup, you view BKB as a pretty hard counter, and if they don't even need that to win the team fights, you really have to be rewarded for their chances to press on in this game.
Yep, absolutely. Koala gets stunned, but they just can't bring him down. Now, Blitz hopping forward, basically to his death. The hammer gets dropped by OD. That's enough to finish off Storm. Takes Dazzle very low, vacuum into wall. Zephyr are just getting cleaned up in this fight. Darkseer did get finished off. Corey hops out of the base. They'll try and take him down. Sort of a smart play, actually. Splitting the fight and pulling the OD away. Meanwhile, in the base, Koala overcommit, and he will go down to the tower. OD did manage to secure that kill all by his lonesome. Gehenna channeling the Epi, blinks forward, will have plenty of damage to finish off the Undying. And RRQ getting a little bit sloppy here. They do concede 2 deaths, but still a 2-for-3 exchange, and they do a pretty significant amount of damage to this tower.
Don Juan.
Yep, going hard, hops forward onto the Wraith King. And throws out the Astral. Look how fast he takes down Purge. He 2-shot that Dazzle. Now Aosin, he suffers a similar fate. Procs the ultimate. Don Juan taking heavy damage here. Manages to get off the Astral just in the nick of time. Aosin may make it back to the well. The Burrow strikes. The pure damage, it's just not enough. Blitz hops forward. He'll be able to end that godlike streak. 1,400 gold going to the Storm Spirit. Gets a double kill. Another 600 for finishing off the Visage. That's a huge gold swing going his way. Even the gem hitting the deck, but the damage has been done, Merlini. Tier 3 tower falls. OD, he buys BOTs. He buys back, and well, does a little damage to that melee barracks before scooting back to safety.
So now that our eyes on Roshan, looks like we won't see the timer for another 45 seconds or so. So kind of threw Zephyr a bone there. Don Juan trying to be a little bit flashy with the Astral dodge on the Hellfire Blast, but it's a little something.
Yeah, a little some. Still a pretty devastating golden experience lead here, bordering about 20k apiece. And curious to see what this Roche timer will be. With all that newfound gold, Blitz was able to pick up a BKB, but Zephyr's at this point now where even if they start to make a recovery, already 1 lane of racks down, at only 1 tier 3 standing, it will be difficult for them to save this bottom lane of racks without a glyph. Arrow flies through and won't catch anyone. Roche up in 20 seconds. Wow, it's a very fast Roche timer. So could be good news for RRQ.
Yeah, they might not even wait. They technically don't really have to. OD is big enough that if he actually plays somewhat carefully, he will live.
Yeah. And now there's also a Veil up on the Sand King. And that is just absolutely huge. So much magic damage. Synergizes well with...
oh, they catch out Juan with an arrow! Don Juan!
Oh, he gets Orchid in, and they'll be able to bring him down. He doesn't have a buyback. He wasted it before. There's your vacuum wall. Pipe popped by Zephyr. Gehenna taking pretty heavy damage. He's forced to retreat.
The comeback is real.
And actually, maybe could be a little bit. Gehenna gets stunned. He will go down. It will be a 2-for-0 double kill coming out for Blitz.
Bet he regrets giving up that gem now.
Yeah, certainly does.
Wait, when did top racks fall?
A while ago. That was RRQ's big push into the base.
Oh, yeah. Okay. See, for some reason, I seem to forget. Well, Roshan is up in case they do want to give it to good old Storm Spirit.
Yeah, they have 60 seconds with OD down. They should have picked up on the buyback and BOTs that he had in the last fight. So maybe, yeah, they don't know that Roche is up either. I don't believe Zephyr have actually scouted it out. So they will pass up this opportunity, unfortunately.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
15,000 gold, 12,000 experience. RRQ still in good shape, but they'll just have to reset this one. Save it for another day. Desolator up on the Mirana. That's a pretty big item for Corey. He's finally come online. But is it enough to tango with this 14-3 and 6 OD?
I don't know. I don't think so. OD did get armor nerf, but not that badly.
Yeah, seriously. Boo Boo does scout out the Roche pit. So they know that Roche has respawned, and they also ping out this double damage rune in the bottom. So I reckon RRQ will just scoop up that rune, move into the pit, and they'll be able to drop it pretty darn fast. Another gem has been picked up by the Visit. We see his familiars did take out that little camera ward that was sitting there. So one gem on each side, but at least RRQ have picked up another one, and Moonlight Shadow should not catch them off guard once again.
Looks like they're trying to make a defend for it, and RRQ may be just sitting on the high ground. They do have 2 blinks up. The Darkseer just picked one up, so they have the potential for a huge combo. And with only 1 BKB up on Zephyr, Stormseer might live, but everyone else might get devastated.
Yeah, 5-man smoke from Zephyr. They think that they're in the pit. Familiars on the high ground. The vision advantage for the Dire is real. Moonlight Shadow, but of course they have a gem. They see Bambo in the front lines. This could be disastrous for Zephyr. Bambo gets sheeped right away. Big ultimate from OD connects with most of them. Dazzle and Undying get picked off right away. The Epicenter doing a ton of damage here. BKB from Blitz keeping him alive, but it just isn't enough. He'll be the 3rd to fall. Don Juan, he's surviving with plenty of hit points to spare. He'll chase down Corey. It's an easy 5-0 exchange. Everyone on RRQ at full hit points. It is a complete disaster for Zephyr.
RRQ wanted them to walk up that hill.
That was just complete bait. They stationed around the high ground. Zephyr, hook, line, and sinker. They bit the worm, and they paid with their lives.
They also didn't know that RRQ had a gem, so they thought that they could get the jump on them before.
Well, they did kill a ward, so they should have had at least an inkling.
Yeah, they should have had an inkling. But they play like they didn't know, because had they done so, I think Undying would have popped everything right before, right as soon as he saw them, or they would have popped with a grave immediately when they knew that all 5 of them were on the high ground. But none of that happened, and they were just caught completely unawares.
Yep. Aegis was sitting on the ground. I thought we were going to have another Ewo moment there for a second, but don't worry. OD scooted in and grabbed it. Looks like Razor working on a refresher. Perseverance, Oblivion staff up. So they're just going for base sieging here. That buffed up Eye of the Storm, making quick work out of that tower. Lightning raining from the sky, and that's the end of the outer towers here for Zephyr. Just that tier 3 and mid standing between RRQ and the tier 4s. Now 20,000 golden experience secured lead for RRQ on the Dire side. OD with another Mystic Staff. I don't even know what he's going for here. I was going to say Shiva's, but Darkseer just picked up his, so I don't know. Maybe just going for some casual int boost here.
I think actually...
Yep, double Shivas, okay.
OD might have drained all of the Storm Spirit's mana that fight. It kind of looked like it. I'm not positive on that, though.
That Sanity's Eclipse hit on at least 4 members of Zephyr. It did a lot of damage, but I didn't see if it actually did damage to Storm or if it just took his mana. Really not sure. Storm does have quite a bit of int, but I don't think enough. He only has about 110. And OD is sitting at like 180. So there's still a pretty big gap there.
Yeah. Well, he just picked up the Mystic Staff, I think.
That's true. But even, okay, so minus 25. That's still a pretty big gap over the Storm. But I don't know. The BKB helped keep Blitz alive, but it just wasn't enough. He'll pick up a point booster now, working towards a Bloodstone, I think, one would assume. Buyback situation for the Radiant. Negative. Not a single buyback available. Arrow flies. Almost makes for the easy arrow set. Oh, that was close to hitting the Sand King.
Hit him. What the heck is that?
That was just barely falls short. Koala does complete his refresher orb, and there's the Shivas up on the OD. So RRQ, they've got everything they need to try and break the high ground here. Zephyr, they've got a glyph, and they need to make a hold. Top lane already pushing in. And we'll start moving into the tier 4, so this is a great timing for RRQ. Arrow does hit Don Juan to start things off. He'll get mech'd up. Moonlight Shadow deployed. They want this OD, but Wall of Replica Vacuum already comes out. Mech, pipe, popped for the Radiant, but it just isn't enough. They've already lost their range racks. Wraith King completely repelled. Melee racks taking pretty heavy damage. RRQ, they'll just be able to back out after this if they want to, or they can commit to the fight. Bambo taking heavy damage. The Familiars do back off just in the nick of time. Don Juan comes forward. Double kill on Aosin and Purge as he drops the hammer. Blitz is in some trouble, scoots back in the well, but Undying's gotten killed. Oh, Corey, he'll get astraled, and I think he will meet the ultimate demise. And even Blitz gets picked off in the well. It's another full 5-man wipe. They don't pick up a single kill of their own. Ultra kill for Don Juan. Tier 4s have Dawn down, and Zephyr will tap out.
Dawn down?
Dawn down. Yeah.
Don Juan, Don
Juan, Dawn the towers. Oh, man.
How do you even say his name?
I think it's Juan. Is that what the XW sound is like?
I have no idea.
I don't know. That's the best
I've never encountered that combination of letters.
Roland has not corrected me for pronouncing it wrong, so I just assumed I've been doing it right. But I don't know, maybe that's
The
not
Indonesian
the best judge.
Don Juan.
Don Juan. But a pretty convincing win for RRQ when it's all said and done. As you were talking about, some of it perhaps a drafting issue and some of it just an execution issue for Zephyr. But what do you think? Undying? Pick, ban, shafter draft?
Not in this situation.
Yeah.
I think he's okay in some. I think he's okay in tri-lanes. I think it's okay if you can get away with it in a 1-on-3 situation. But the biggest problem was the OD versus Storm Spirit matchup in mid. They just didn't give a position for Storm Spirit to shine. And he is Blitz's signature hero. He does very well if he snowballs, but he had to go recovery items. He didn't have any stacks to work with, so he could actually get back into the game and just know where the TP the graves, like nothing, just
and
nothing.
He just had a hard matchup. OD is a very difficult hero to go up against with Storm, and he actually held his own. They were pretty even in CS, but then the Dire rotated through. Blitz took an unfortunate spill, and the support just wasn't there to help keep him alive. So, well, not looking so good for Zephyr. I don't know what their standings are off the top of my head, but they've 1 and 2 now, so they're not off to a great start in this group stage. They'll have one more game tonight, and it will be against MVP Phoenix coming up next right here on this stream, scheduled to start about 10 minutes ago. So that'll be interesting. Some Korean dodo on Zephyr dodo. Who's even the favorite coming into that? Is Zephyr still the favorite, or is that almost kind of a coin flip
Dodo
matchup?
2 Lounge probably will have Phoenix.
Close to 50. I would say it's close to 50-50, maybe Phoenix ahead.
70-30.
70-30. That's, I think, a little extreme. But
I think that's a little extreme, too.
But
Zephyr has beaten them 75% of the time when they faced off.
Yeah, exactly. That's
very...
All right, well,
we'll
see. Maybe a value bet, but some of it, Zephyr just aren't looking so good in this group stage. So maybe some teams thinking that might be on tilt. Who knows? Maybe that does influence the bets.
Hopefully they fare a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. But we'll have a short break here, guys. And coming up next will be the Zephyr versus MVP Phoenix. I'll be casting alongside Basekip and Merlini. I don't know where you're going next.
I'm hosting the downstairs.
Yeah. He's hosting on downstairs. So thank you for joining us here, guys, on BTS2 for TI4 qualifier coverage by the NA Hub presented by Monster. I'm Zayori. This is Merlini. You can follow us on Twitter at ZayoriTV, at Merlini Dota, and, of course, give Beyond the Summit some love at Beyond the Summit as well. We'll be back with more Dota after this break.